it up, swashbucklers! You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 194. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show and the ship sushi chef each and every week. We're brought to you today by Scuba Wise and Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast. Man, try saying ship sushi chef 10 times in a row. That's a tough one. I had to practice that a few times, but I got it right. Nailed it. First time. Pretty proud of myself. My guest on the show today is Haakon Vatle of Stormweather Shanty Choir, and this is a really fun talk. You guys are going to dig it. Thanks to Jack Gonzo from Scoundrels Inn for the tip on these guys, because I hadn't heard of them before, and they do some really good stuff. I am digging on Stormweather Shanty Choir. We're going to hear about how Haakon's time on a Norwegian tall ship taught him about like real life sea shanty stuff and why it works when they're doing the work on a ship. He spent quite a lot of time on this tall ship. We're going to talk about the super hardcore fans, Japanese fans that created their first Japanese tour and how that all went down. We're going to talk about how they took a gig as a wedding band in Maine, here in the U.S., and about that story. All great stories. I think you're really going to dig them. So stay tuned for that. Don't turn that dial. Don't turn that dial. As if there's a dial on your phone that you're listening to this right now. Don't turn that dial. Old school radio. We'll talk about that in a second, too. If you're digging the show, and I hope you are, join us over on Facebook, facebook.com/underthecrossbones. On Twitter, we're at undercrossbones, and be sure to hit that subscribe button. That's the button you do have. That subscribe button right in whatever app you're listening to this right now. Just click that subscribe button, and you will get the new episodes automatically every Tuesday as soon as they come out. So, speaking of radio, I played in Clovis, California over the weekend. Did 2 shows at a place called the Chicos that my buddy Danny runs. They're always super fun shows. Friday night, we had a nice sold-out crowd, and it was one of those shows where you go, oh man, I do know how to do this stand-up comedy thing. I think I know how to do it. I got it. And it was a great show. It was great. Tried out some new songs, tweaked a few jokes, all that kind of good stuff. And then Saturday night, it was still a good show, but we had a mighty smaller crowd because we had run into a bunch of, there were a bunch of high school graduations or something going on that day. So we had a much smaller crowd. It was not the smallest crowd I've ever played to. Smallest crowd I've ever played to, 2 people. Yeah. 2 people at a casino show, and I did an hour for them. That was years ago. Oof. And they didn't even buy a CD after. They had a great time at the show. They told me it was one of the best shows they'd ever seen, but then they didn't buy a CD after. I was very upset with them. And that's not even the smallest show I've heard of. My friend Gabriel Rutledge did an entire hour show for an empty room. Yeah, and that's a story for him to tell. But if you haven't heard of Gabriel Rutledge, go look him up. He's very funny. Love that guy. So anyway, shows were great. I'm feeling confident about where I am with this new show that we're going to be filming in August. We'll talk about that in a second, too. And so I had this weekend, I'm going to be at the Pechanga Casino in Temecula, California. 4 nights, 5 shows. Looking forward to it because I get to spend 4 days eating buffet and in a nice hotel room and just hunkering down and doing the work and doing the shows. It's gonna be a blast. But so I had to do some radio phoners for these shows that the casino set up for me. And I'm doing one of them tomorrow, and then I did one last week. And these radio is okay. Radio is cool if you got a DJ that knows what's up and they engage and you have a discussion, just like we do on the show here. You have a discussion where we talk about some things, and some things are funny and some things are just talking, whatever it is. But when you do a phoner for a morning show on the radio, there is 0 depth to that conversation. None. 0 depth. And I'd like there to be a little bit of depth with a P. Death during the conversation would be bad. Might be more interesting, but it would be bad. So I call these guys, and I'm doing the phone, and it's like less than 5 minutes, and it's always like Dave and Derp in the morning. And they're like, hey, it's Dave and the Derp in the morning on KK, blah, 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 blah. And Phil Johnson's going to be at the Pechanga Casino this Friday through Sunday. And you going to rock that house, bro? And I want to be truthful with them. Like, I don't know. I'm feeling a little off this week. And I have this one joke that just isn't working. And I think it's really good. And I'm trying to figure out how to tweak it. And I think I can get it to come around. But I'm having trouble, and I'm a little bit stressed out this week. And the casino show in Temecula is going to be a lot of white people, and a lot of white people don't seem to like my material that much anymore. And so yeah, we're gonna do the show Thursday through Sunday. All right, well, that's Phil Johnson, the Pechanga Casino Resort, this Friday through Sunday. Here he is. I feel like I just want to completely throw them off their game, but then I don't get hired back when I do that. Radio is fun. I like radio when you can sit in the studio with them and, engage in the show. But when you're pre-recording a morning phoner, there's just no depth there. They asked me what I thought about the new weed laws in here in California, and I said, don't care. And I tried to segue into a joke for my last special. That kind of worked, and we did it, and it was like 4 minutes and out. And I got to do another one tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's what it is. That's how I'd really like to treat those, though, is just like totally just bring them down. Just bring them down all the way. So anyway, as I mentioned, this Thursday through Sunday, I'll be at the Pechanga Casino in Temecula. So if you're in that area, come on out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're doing 2 shows Saturday, 1 show on the other nights. June the 21st, I'll be at the Main Street Cafe in Benicia, California. On the 22nd, I'll be at Comedy Oakland, my old stomping grounds up there in Oakland. And June 29 to 30, I will be at the Pirate Invasion of Long Beach. Yeah, in Long Beach, California. So if you're coming to Long Beach, come say hi. You can find me on the main stage. I'll be up there with Adam the Juggler, and we'll be co-emceeing all weekend, bringing the bands up and off. And it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. I'm going to try to do some Facebook Lives from there, show you some of the action that is happening. So keep a watch on the Facebook page, too, for that. Now, here's the big show announcement. August the 16th in San Diego, California, I will be filming my new comedy special, my 4th one, at the Comedy Palace down there in San Diego. It's August 16th. Tickets are on sale now. You can get them at comedypalace.com. Here's the important part. Use the code PHIL50. That's PHIL 50, the number 50, and you get 50% off the ticket price. Not only do you get 50% off the ticket price, however many people use that code, that's how much they're going to figure. They use that to figure out how much they're paying me for the night. So it's a door deal. That means I get paid based on how many people are coming through and how many people use that code. Okay? So be helpful to me if you do that. So if you're in San Diego, if you're near San Diego, I hope we'll see you at the show. If you know people in San Diego, please tell them about the show. This is very important. This is the first time I'm trying to sell out 2 shows at a club in a city I don't live in. I'm taking a swing in the bat on this one to see how it goes. All right. So that's August 16th at the Comedy Palace in San Diego. We're doing 2 shows, 7:30 and 9:30. We'll be filming that night. So if you want to come out and have your laughs, plastered in digital for posterity and for all to see, come on out for that. It's gonna be really fun. I'm very proud of this new show I'm doing. It's taken me a long time to write it, and I can't wait to show it to you. All right. And so there's that. That's August 16th, San Diego. Anyway, we are sponsored today by Scuba Wise Treasure Expeditions, Sunken Treasure Workshop, and this is the coolest experience of a lifetime you're going to have, man. You're going to spend the day with world-renowned treasure hunters in the Florida Keys learning how to find sunken treasure on the 1733 fleet of Spanish galleons. Yes, how fun does that sound, right? It's family-friendly. You can scuba, you can snorkel, you can just go along for the boat ride. If you don't actually want to get in the water, that's cool too. You're going to explore real sunken Spanish galleons. You're going to see cannons, all sorts of good piratey stuff. And your hosts are some seriously world-renowned treasure hunters. Captain Carl Fismer, world-renowned treasure hunter, and the real-life Indiana Jones, if we're being honest. You heard him back in episode 108 of this show. Captain Bradley Williamson, who you heard in episode 181, he's been seen on Expedition Unknown on the Travel Channel, and he's going to take it down in the water, yeah. And, of course, Dive Master Mark Littleton, who has 35 years of experience recovering artifacts from ships like the Andrea Doria and the Pinta and all sorts of great stuff. All right, so these dudes know what's up. And it's not all fluff, man. They're going to show you. They're going to learn you up. You're going to learn how to find good shipwrecks to salvage. You're going to learn about the legalities of doing so, the technology used in wreck diving, even how to find the money for your own project if you really want to get into it and do this for real, all right? Or you don't have to do that. You could just dive on their ship that they've got there and have a good time. You're going to get pictures of the trip included free, a certificate of completion, and most importantly of all, new friends that are going to last you a lifetime. So to find out more, go to underthecrossbones.com/scuba. That's underthecrossbones.com/scuba. The price is very reasonable for what you're going to get to do. And just for visiting them, you get a free treasure map. So that's just for visiting their website. You can get yourself a free treasure map. Go to underthecrossbones.com/scuba and sign up for the Scuba Wise Sunken Treasure Workshop right now. And if you, along with doing that, if you want to support the show in other ways, visiting sponsors is always a great way. If you don't want to spend any money, best way you can support the show is by telling your friends about it. And if they're not listening yet, go, hey, you should be listening to Under the Crossbones. If you want to give me some money, though, I'm always down for that. Go to underthecrossbones.com/support. Right there, there's a little PayPal box. You can put in any amount that you feel is appropriate in there. There's also an Amazon banner. Click that Amazon banner. Buy yourself something nice at Amazon. Amazon kicks me back a few shekels. That helps me keep the old boat afloat, and it's very nice of you. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, like Scuba Wise or Pirate Radio, The Treasure Coast, or any of the other great folks we've had on the show, go to, again, underthecrossbones.com/support. All the information is right there. Okay, so let's do this. We are going to dig in now from my talk with Haakon Vatle of Storm Weather Shanty Choir. Check it out. Storm Weather Shanty Choir. I've been listening to music all morning. It's fascinating stuff and takes quite a few different turns over the course of your 5 or so albums that you've got out. Tell me a little bit about how you guys approach sea shanty music currently and maybe how that's changed from the way you did before.
How we play it now, you think? Well, yeah, as you see, yeah, we have five albums, I think, five or six, live album. And we started in 2000. So, and when we were in 2000, we were just playing and singing and having fun and doing very raw recordings. But on the latest albums, we found our sound, and we are playing a bit more with the songs and experimenting a little bit more with the songs. But as long as they sound as long as we can give them the power they deserve, we think it's cool to renewing the tradition a little bit.
Sure. And this is sometimes a difficult question to answer, but what was it in finding your sound? What was it that you think you guys found and were able to change along the way?
Good question. And I'm not quite sure how to answer on that. But it was definitely on the Way Hey and Away We'll Go album.
Okay.
We found our sound, which we just developed on the Drop of Nelson's Blood album. So, and also we got a nice producer with us, Björn Bunes, who challenged us. He's not from the folk world. He's He's from the more like the pop world. But
interesting.
But he has a deeper respect for what we're doing, and I know what we want to do with the choir, what we can do and not do. Also, because I've been working many years on the tall ship, and this is also where I got to know these songs. That's my background with them.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I noticed that in your bio that you'd spent some time on the tall ship SS. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
Statsråd Lemkull, one of the biggest tall ships in the world.
There you go. So how did you become involved with that?
Now that's funny. The ship actually formed my whole life. I started there I came on board there in '96. Started on deck, and I worked on board for a 9-year period, half year every year. Went the grades up to bosun. I was a quartermaster and worked on deck, ordinary seaman. And that was also where I heard the songs for the first time from the captain who was singing. And I got so fascinated by the songs that when I was not sailing, I was studying. I haven't got a nautical background, but I've got a teacher's education and a music education. And then I started investigating the shanties. And actually I did a master's degree on shanties. Probably the only one in the world who did a master's on it. But then I also used it. I've used it very much on board the ship to see how it works. And one of our clients on the ship is the Norwegian Naval Academy, who sail with us 3 months a year, and I use a lot of my masters to actually see how they use it, how we can use it to hoist the mast, hoist the yards, as I did in the old days, and to set the sails and stuff like that. And it works brilliant. It's more like just to get the power out.
That's interesting. So, I mean, the original purpose of these songs is to be a work song, to motivate the crew to get the job done. So tell me a little bit more about that, how you were using the songs for their intended purpose on the ship with that crew. What does that process look like?
It is really cool, and we still do it. And that is so fascinating. We have some ABs who don't sing, and when I come on board, or there's another AB on board who does sing, they all get this wow feeling when they see how much easier it is to hoist a yard of 3 tons when we all walk on deck singing, for example, Drunken Sailor or South Australia. and they see how much power it gives into the people or the crew or the trainees on board our ship. Contrary if they're not singing and just standing and quiet and hauling. So it is still, it has the same motivating and fiery energy kick for the trainees and the crew when we do the shanties compared to not.
That's interesting. I would love to see like a neuroscientist look into that and find out why that is. And that absolutely is, because here's one small memory that I have. When I was in the Cub Scouts years ago, they took us on this really long hike. And we were all really tired. And the only way we got through this hike was by all of us singing, "Our feet hurt, our feet hurt,"
Yeah.
all the way through this hike. But it got us through the hike. So that absolutely does make sense. I would love to find out some of the neuroscience behind it. Now I'm going to have to find somebody that knows about that kind of thing to talk to.
But this is not only for shanties and like the work songs. It makes the work much easier if you have some to chill you out.
So let's go back a little bit further. How did you get into the maritime thing in the first place? What made you want to get on that ship and do some work there?
I'm raised up on an island south of Bergen called Stord, and I've always been close to the sea. And when I came up to Bergen, I was going to study at university here. I had no bloody idea of what to do with my life. And it's actually a coincidence. I was living in 3 other students, and they were consensus objectives. So I didn't go to the army, and I didn't know what to do with my life. And then I heard there was a possibility to go on board this ship, which I've just heard about and seen. And then I managed to get on board the ship, and from there it started. And then after that, I worked on board as a professional sailor. So and believe it or not, I sailed there for a 9-year period till 2005, and then went to shore. Playing music as a musician, doing festivals. But believe it or not, now I'm back on the ship, but now I'm actually the general manager of the whole foundation. So I started 3 years ago. So the circle has been like closed again.
That's great.
Yeah.
So was your concentration in music in university, was that because of the sea shanties, or did you have a music background before that?
Yeah, I played in rock and punk bands.
Okay.
So yeah, I did that. But the reason I got more and more into the shanties, because I heard them. This is what I'm always saying, that I heard these songs on board the ship, and I thought, what the hell? These are fantastic songs. They got brilliant rhythm, and you get the hardcore sailors to sing along. So there must be some magic into these songs. And I say that the shanties that we have today, which have been saving for 150, 200 years, they have a value which is like 1 million times bigger than any song you will get on the billboard. They've already been lasting for 200 years, and they were sung by the hardcore, rough, tough sailors from the great days of sail.
Sure.
When you make these old hardcore sailors sing, then you know that there's quite power in the songs you have.
Yeah. And so going in, did you ever have a thought about sort of rockifying, punkifying those sea shanties? Because when I approach a new style of music, my first thought is always, how can I destroy this and mix it up with something else and do something else? Or did you really come at it like, I want to do this as authentically as possible?
Yeah, good question. But also what I'm saying is that I say that the sailors were the first true rock and rollers.
Sure, yeah.
And being out on deck, it was not having the nicest voice; it was just shouting, and
right.
So that's true rock and roll. And so we have just taken that a bit further. Of course, putting more instruments on than what they did in the old days. Of course, we want to have an audience. We want to promote the music, and if we should sing these songs as they were originally sung, totally a cappella with up to 50, 60 verses, we wouldn't have so many people who would listen to us.
Right. But you've never gone like full punk with it or anything, with big loud guitars and things like that.
Yeah. No, always acoustic guitars. But it's quite we have like the most punk version is probably Boney. I don't know if you've heard that one. That's quite hardcore, and of course, yeah, that's I think that would be the most closest punk version we've done.
Okay, interesting.
12-string, 6-string, mandolin, accordion, and a bodhran, and a floor drum.
Okay,
that's what we use. Never any like fuzz guitars and stuff like that.
And are you doing primarily traditional stuff, or have you guys written any original stuff to complement it?
No, only original stuff, but we interpret the original stuff. That is what we like to do.
Okay, yeah. So doing the traditional stuff, and there's a lot of well-known songs in your catalog that even cursory fans of the style are going to recognize, Drunken Sailor and things like that. And then you've got some pretty deep cuts on there too that I found pretty fascinating. How do you go about picking the repertoire that you're going to use on a particular album?
I've been into this for many years since I started sailing, and when I was sailing, I went all the ports we went to. I went into old bookshops,
Okay,
selling old books, rare books, and I found a lot of through this time. I found a lot of books of shanties, American, English, Norwegian, French, and so on. And it's just taking time and going through these songs and testing them out, see what I find catchy, and then try to interpret them and make them ours, like we did with the Drunken Sailor. Everybody has done that one. We needed to make it our version so that it's a bit different from the others.
sure, yeah. What is it that you put into that arrangement that you think defines what you do?
I think also the band itself is interesting. I'm more like the folk man. The guitar or mandolin player, Roald Kallestad, he plays with a lot of rock and folk bands. Our drummer, he plays drums. He's a metal drummer.
Okay.
Yeah, he plays with one of the biggest metal bands in Norway, Tåke.
Okay.
And then you have some others coming from singer-songwriters. So everybody, when we mix together, there's a lot of different background when we sit together and we start interpreting the songs and people contribute. And after a while, we find the song just gets there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. In when you were studying music in university, I also studied music in college, and I don't think sea shanties ever came up even once in our curriculum. When you took that in as kind of a focus of what you wanted to do there, how did the school react to studying that type of music? I imagine you were also studying classical and jazz and all that other kind of stuff along with it, but how did they react to I like sea shanties?
Very interesting what you are saying, because I was actually the same here. I was so fascinated, and I came back to this university, and I said, okay, 80% of Norway's population live and has lived by the coast, and we've been one of the biggest seafaring nations for many, many years. But same as with you, I experienced here that nothing was written about shanties and sea songs. And there are many rational reasons for that. It didn't fit in. It didn't fit in the history of our nation, because also the songs are a bit rude and stuff like that, and also many of them are in English. But that was also one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, to be able to lift it up where it belongs as a part of our proud folk musician history here in Norway, even if it is international, even if it was in English. As I say, the sailors, they were way ahead 150 years ago, and then they had to speak English to survive because they were around in the world.
Yeah.
But, they were surprised when I wanted to do this, but they also liked it very much. And especially with my background, I got all the books, but also I was sailing part of the time, so I could document them, send them films as part of my thesis to show, yes, they do work, and it is a good.
That's that's really interesting, and I'm always a fan of anybody that can bend the rules a little bit like that, because I certainly did. I remember doing a term paper on Aerosmith, and my jazz teacher was like, "Oh, okay, all right." And so yeah, I like that kind of stuff too. That's really cool. Now, you mentioned the concept of singing in English. Was there ever discussion within the group to sing in Norwegian versus English, or was it just English from the onset?
Nah, we do also some. We also have some Norwegian songs on all albums. We have some Norwegian songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a benefit or a detriment to singing in English?
Yeah, it's good. I think it's good with a combination, and especially also since we've been playing in US and we've been playing in Japan, and they don't know so much English, but they definitely don't know Norwegian. But they think it's. I I think they like it. You know, it gives a good kick into the set list to do a Norwegian song when you're abroad, because people get very curious on what it is, and still we get them along singing with us, which is fun.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, just by rote, I imagine. Tell me a little bit about playing in Japan, because I saw some Tokyo dates and things like that on your previous gig list there, and I don't think we've ever discussed Japan as having any sort of shanty scene, pirate scene, anything like that. So what were those gigs like?
I must be quite honest. The most amazing gigs and places we've been to ever. It's you won't believe it. There's so hardcore, fantastic fans over there.
Huh.
So yeah, we've been there 3 times, and after we've been the first time, just was a couple of months before we were going to on a second tour there. Then actually there was a group. It was three Japanese women who actually came all the way up to Norway.
Oh my gosh!
To visit us, because they were so hardcore and they wanted to see, they wanted to get to know us better. So they came up and visited our homes, and we had them for dinner. And they saw one of our shows which we played here in our hometown, Bergen. And then the day after, they went back to Tokyo. That's like
that's hardcore, man. Boy, we all need fans
really
like that.
Really hardcore, but absolutely fantastic, and so dedicated fans, and very polite, but they also, when you ask them to sing along, they also do that. So it's a really fascinating country, and yeah, I really loved it.
So the first time you went over there, were you invited over there, or did you guys think, hey, let's go to Japan?
No, so everything has been organized from a Japanese organizer, which is just amazing. It's called Harmony Fields, and they've been working with some Scandinavian musicians and we had no idea. We had no idea at all why they contacted us and asked us if we wanted to go for a tour. Where everything was arranged, and so we went down there, and the life is pretty funny. So when we met him in Tokyo the first time, this organizer who had then been risking many thousands of kroners to get us over there and organize a tour. And so how on earth and why are we here? Why have you invited us? And then it turns out, life is strange. And he said, well, he hadn't seen us live, but he had a good friend who was a Japanese student who had seen us at a showcase in Oslo, which is the capital of Norway, the year before. And she was so fascinating of what she had seen, so she automatically had just called this man and said, you have to book these to Japan. So he believed in her, and then we were in Japan. Everything organized. We had sold out houses on the first tour in Tokyo, which is crazy.
That's amazing, and a good lesson in that you never know who's in the audience, who's going to come back later. Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. So then how did that compare then to your first trip to the U.S.? I know you've done a bunch of U.S. states and Seattle and Boston and New York and such.
Yeah, that was before. We would love to come back to the U.S. again, I must say. That was fantastic. We haven't been to California. I have not been there. But that was also on a strange occasion why we went over to the US, almost as strange as how we got to Japan, because I remember we were sitting and mixing an album, and then I got an email, and it was like, hi guys, do you play in weddings? Which we don't. We are really no good background music band, but right. I saw it was from the US. So I said, well, what the hell? I can just answer, of course, under these and these conditions, we can come over to US and play. And I thought, okay, that's going to scare them away. They will never fulfill that.
Right.
And it took a couple of days, and then they said, okay, well, we want you. Cool. So then everything was organized and paid for with flights, and we were going to play at a wedding in Maine. We had no idea. So then we extended and made a tour out of it. So I used lots of time to get gigs in New York and Boston. So we started playing in New York, which was fantastic for a pirate shanty crier from an island on the west coast of Norway to land in New York and doing gigs Rockwood Music Hall we played.
Okay.
Lower East Side. Really cool venue. We did a couple of gigs there. And we were on top of the world, of course, being in New York playing. And I remember we were going, and we were finished with the gigs there. And then we were going to Maine to do the job which we, the reason why we came over.
Uh-huh.
We were like, okay, we've had the time of our life here now in New York. I'm not sure about this wedding thing, but okay, guys, this is why we are here. We have to do the best out of it. So we didn't have the highest hopes of how this would be. But we managed to also organize a gig in Maine the day before. And then it started to get really weird. Yeah. So we got into a bar there and played. And then a lot of these wedding guests for the day after came in, and they were, whoa, Stormer the Shanty Choir. And then it turns out that we are a gift to the, what's the man called? Is that the groom? The groom.
Yeah.
We were a gift to the groom from the wife and her mother, because it turns out that the groom was hardcore fan of Stormer the Shanty Choir. So the guest then came on the Friday, the day before the wedding, when we were playing there, and asked if we could play this and this song. He was so fascinated with this and this song. I was like, "Are you joking? Whoa, this is freaky." So the day came, the day after, and he didn't know that we were there because he didn't live in Maine. So he came in that same day to Maine, and we were supposed to come in as a surprise after his speech. And so we did, and this is also one of the weirdest moments in our career, is that he's finished with the speech, everybody is sitting there, and then we come from the backside of the venue, we come singing in to this guy. And the funny thing is that he gets starstruck when he sees us. But for us, it's such a weird situation that we also get starstruck. It is so weird. This is so weird. Anyway, so we played this wedding, and he knew all the lyrics, all the tricks that he knew. So that was just the most fascinating and a hell of a good party as well afterwards. It was an adventure.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Yeah, it's funny because I've never played a wedding, I don't think, but I've done graduation parties and birthday parties and things like that. And they always go, "Oh, you're going to be a surprise." And I'm like, no, I'm not to be a surprise. Everybody but the guests should know I'm going to be there, because I've had that go wrong in so many different ways. But it sounds like it really worked out in that case, because the guy was, well, in my case, they always go, "We got a surprise comedian," but the person has no idea who I actually am. But in that case, that works out really nice, because they just brought his favorite band to the wedding, and that had to be just mind blowing for him.
Yeah, I have to follow up if you want to hear. I think it was a year after.
Uh-huh.
I got an email from his wife, a fantastic couple, and it was a sad email that her husband had been out for a car accident.
Ooh.
And the ambulance people had to cut him out from the car.
Oof.
And they had to cut up his clothes to get to his chest or something like that. And he had been shouting because he had our Stormer the Shanty Choir T-shirt on. Oh. So he's so upset. He was so upset, and they had told him, "No, you cannot cut my T-shirt. I only have this." But they had to cut it up. So the wife then sent us an email, asked if we could send him a new T-shirt. He's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I think that's definitely worth a free T-shirt.
Yeah.
So what are you working on next? Is there another album in the works, or mostly just gigging right now?
Mainly gigging. We are not doing so many gigs this year, which we have decided because the drummer, he is very busy with his metal band playing. Uh-huh. So for this autumn, we are working on some new songs. So hopefully, or maybe next year, 2020, we'll have a new album coming. Would be nice. At least we're working on songs, but we don't live in the same place anymore. I live in Bergen, and 2 hours from here, most of the people live on the island Stord, where I come from, and another guy is 1 hour south of that again. So we just need to meet, and then when we meet, we play and we have fun.
There you go. Yeah, that makes it a little trickier, but I've done that too with my bandmates. So I know how that works. Yeah. So where's a good place online for people to keep up with what you guys are doing?
Spotify.
Okay.
And our Facebook page, of course. There we all put out all the events there. That would be cool if you could get some more fans over there.
Sure.
Who would like us. Maybe we could get over to use again, which would be amazing to do.
There you go. Well, we got loads of pirate festivals over here, so those are the people to hook up with. Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
This was really fun. Is there anything I forgot to ask you about that you want everybody to know?
Oh, check us out on Spotify and follow us on our Facebook. I think it's just Facebook and it's just Shanty Choir. I think we have.
Okay, great. I'll make sure that's all in the show notes. Well, thank you for your time. This was really fun.
Thank you very much for being interested in our band, and hopefully we'll come to California one day. That would be fantastic.
I hope so too. There it is, friends. That is my talk with Haakon Vatle of Stormweather Shanty Choir. That wedding story is amazing, isn't it? That is the type of gig that a performer also will remember forever. Obviously, that dude is going to remember that wedding reception forever, but the band, too, they're going to remember that forever. I have gigs that I remember forever just because of the people that I met there that were so great. So did you hear something you liked, something you wanted to chip in your 2 cents in and ask some questions, make some comments? You can do that. Come on over to facebook.com/underthecrossbones right there. We'll be talking about the episode, and you can add your two doubloons to the conversation if you would like to do that. I will also have some music in the show notes from the Shanty Choir. I did not get a track from Haakon in time to put it in the podcast itself. So if you just click into the show notes, I will link to some music in there so you can hear what these guys are doing. It's really, really cool stuff, especially their latest album, A Few Drops of Nelson's Blood. Very great album, and I think you're really, really going to dig it. And of course, you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/shantychoir. So that's where you go find them. I believe they have a website too. So if you just Google Stormweather Shanty Choir, everything that exists about them will be known to your brain. We're sponsored today by Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast. Yeah, WKKC-DB, playing the best music of today's hits and yesterday's classics. And Pirate Radio Talk, playing the best pirate shows, including Under the Crossbones, 24/7, all commercial-free. How you like them nuggets. To listen, go to Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast or pick up the Pirate Radio WKKC-DB app in your favorite app store. For the talk station, go to pirateradiotc.com or pick up the Pirate Radio Talk in the App Store. You can also ask your Alexa or Google device when you do the Hey Alexa or whatever that is. I don't know, my friend Danny had an Alexa. He showed me it the other night. I don't have one. But you can use your Google device. You can Google your thing or your Alexa and say, hey, play Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast or play Under the Crossbones, and it will do it for you. All brought to you by iTreasure Radio, the very best digital media from independently owned stations at iTreasureRadio.com. I also have a free ebook for you. It's Alexander Squemlin's Pirates of Panama or Buccaneers of America, originally published in 1678 after his Alexander Squemlin was a doctor who ended up on Henry Morgan's crew. Yeah, so he's in the deep end of that early Spanish Main stuff, and he wrote about his adventures, and I have a free ebook version of it for you. Just go to underthecrossbones.com, click the free ebook button, and you can download that there. And that is our show for today. Thank you once again for tuning in. I appreciate it every single ding-dang time you do. Again, to find out more about Stormweather Shanty Choir, hit them up on Facebook, facebook.com/Shanty Choir. All the show notes for this episode will be at underthecrossbones.com/194. And we'll have some Shanty Choir music in there and some pictures and all sorts of good stuff will be happening in those show notes. So make sure you click through and check those out. Coming up next week, we're going to talk a little more music. We're going to talk with Rachel Eldridge of Brethren of the Northeast Sea, a.k.a. Bones. It's an acronym. Yeah. Gotta love a smart name like that. So Rachel's coming up next week. I've got a stack of interviews scheduled over the next couple weeks, and so there's all sorts of cool people coming up that you're really going to dig. So stay tuned for that. If you have a suggestion for a guest, somebody that you think would be a good guest, or it could be yourself or whatever, hit me up. Phil@underthecrossbones.com is my email address. That's Phil@underthecrossbones.com. I will be happy to discuss it with you. All right? So hit those show notes, underthecrossbones.com/194. Go listen to yourself some Stormweather Shanty Choir and tune in next week for Rachel Eldridge of Bones. Check you then.